James Anthony Zoccoli. By day, he is a security guard, but by night, James is a writer, performer, and voiceover artist. His one-man show debuted in the Chicago Cultural Center and will be featured in New York at the Solo Nova Arts Festival and in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol Fringe Festival. Tonight, he shares a story about ETHS from two very different angles. Give it up for James Anthony.
What up? How's it going, everybody? Excellent. Yes, all of those things that Anthony said are true, and it's very precious to be here and to be a part of this project. And I think someone alluded to this earlier, in fact, Jen, I believe. I was nowhere near as together as young Mr. DeCapri, and so it's really quite cool to be a part of something like this. So as he said, my name is James Anthony Zoccoli. I actually grew up between Maine and Dempster near Dodge Avenue, 1134 Dewey in the house, and I graduated from Evanston Township High School in 1990. In 2011, I went back to ETHS as a member of the safety department. Now, I don't probably have to tell you that it was never my goal to be a high school security guard. In fact, I had very different plans for myself. And this is where we cue Jump by Van Halen. Hey everybody, I'm Harry Carey, here with Steve Stone at beautiful Wrigley Field, where the score is all knotted at 0 in the 10th inning of the 7th game of the World Series. What a ball game so far, huh, Steve? That's right, Harry. Twins manager Tom Kelly just left the mound after a lengthy conference with the starting pitcher, Jack Morris. But instead of going to the bullpen, the big right-hander is still in the game. Stoney, you could have smoked one of your cigars during that meeting on the mound. That's right, Harry. But Jack Morris is the winningest pitcher of the 80s, and they trust him to get this big out. And a big out it is, with 1991 NL Rookie of the Year, Jimmy Zoccoli stepping up to the bat. You know, Steve, Zoccoli spelled backwards is Illikas. That's right, Harry. The switch-hitting first baseman took over for an injured Mark Grace early in the season, and since then, Cubs manager Jim Fry left the youngster in the starting position, and the local kid who made the majors straight out of high school has helped his team into the World Series for the first time in nearly 50 years. Now he's trying to start a rally and make history. Steve, I'm going to need another cold Budweiser if this game goes on any longer. Me too, Harry. Me too. Zoccoli steps into the batter's box. The tall, lanky 19-year-old looks calm, cool, and cool. Jack Morris, who is nearly twice his age, gets the sign from the catcher. And here comes the first pitch. Bam! There's a drive! Way back! It might be! It could be! It is! A home run! And with that, the Chicago Cubs have won the World Series! Holy cow! Now, if you are not a Chicagoan or a fan of baseball, you may not realize this, but none of the events described just happened. In fact, the Chicago Cubs have not won a World Series since 1908 and haven't even appeared in one since 1945. So despite my wildest dreams, my best intentions, and my boldest proclamations, I was not the hometown hero who helped break the curse of the most star-crossed team in the history of organized sports. Why not? Because I gave up on baseball. Why did I give up on baseball? Because I never made the freshman baseball team at Evanston Township. One might think, no biggie, right? One might say, you love baseball, kid, just keep practicing, improve your skills, and try out next year. But I was like, ain't gonna be no next year. Ironic for a Cubs fan to have that sort of attitude, I know. Now, the reason why I gave up had nothing to do with unsupportive teachers or parents. I gave up because I just didn't want it badly enough. If I did want it badly enough, I'd have taken the snub of that baseball coach as a personal challenge. That's what Michael Jordan did when he was a sophomore and didn't make the cut for his high school varsity team. Michael Jordan became an NCAA champion. Michael Jordan became an Olympian. Michael Jordan became one of the best players in the NBA, Rookie of the Year, 5-time MVP. Say that one more time. 5-time MVP of the league, 10-time leading scorer, winner of 6 championships, and MVP of every one of those series. But Michael Jordan didn't go to ETHS, Evanston Township High School, the largest high school in America, a 2.2 million square foot building on a 65-acre campus with 3,500 students. Over 30% of those students participate in extracurricular sports. 70 boys get to play baseball. You do the math. These are not good odds, especially for a kid who was not good at math. Especially when that kid's algebra teacher was the coach of the baseball team. I don't need to know algebra. Nobody uses algebra except in high school anyway. This was my excuse. I don't need to do my algebra homework because I'm going to play professional baseball. Youth is a series of bold statements, some idiotically idealistic, some foolishly fantastic. I don't need to do well in algebra because I'm going to play professional baseball for the Chicago Cubs. Youth is a series of bold statements that we know we cannot live up to, but make regardless. I don't need to do no algebra because I'm going to play first base for the Chicago Cubs and we're going to win the World Series. Youth is a series of bold and stupid statements that people disbelieve, which makes us angry. I don't need to learn algebra because I'm going to play professional baseball for the Chicago Cubs and win the World Series and be a millionaire, and any algebra that needs to be done, I'll pay somebody to do it. This is what youth tends to do. On the other hand, maturity is accepting that life is simply more complicated than we perceive it to be. Life is not as simple as making a decision to do something. In fact, the course of our lives is really decided by what we choose to do when our first desire becomes impossible. When I didn't make the freshman baseball team, I did what any kid might do. Pouted, complained, watched television, and played video games. Between the second semester of my freshman year and the middle of my junior year, I played the original Super Mario Brothers every night and mastered the game in every possible way. Playing the game straight through, no warps, warping from level 2 to level 7, warping to level 3, getting the infinite lives by catching the poop on the staircase to the final flagpole and jumping on the shelves until the bonus points turn into 1-ups. You name it, I did it. Since I'm no algebra wizard, I couldn't even estimate how many hours I spent in this futile exercise, but it was a lot. The more my parents discouraged me from sitting in front of the television running the Nintendo until the plastic case nearly melted, the more I wanted to do it. This is what we do as teenagers. When I walked out of the house in 2 button-down shirts with my pants cuffed up at the bottom, and my mother told me, "Jimmy, that outfit is silly," I'd say, "Whatever, Mom, you don't know." But when I got to school and a buddy of mine said, "That outfit's kind of whack," I'd take off one of the shirts and roll down my pants. When my dad told me, "Jimmy, take off that hat in this house, 'cause I said so, boy. Besides, you keep wearing that hat, you're gonna go bald, boy." And I'd be like, "Whatever, Dad, you don't know." Clearly, he knew. But I stayed in my hats. So now when I'm on duty at the high school, standing in front of Central Library during passing period, and a young man walks by me with his pants on the ground and a hat on his head, and I say, "Please check your cap in the building, sir. Thank you. And get that belt up around your waist, please." And when that young man smacks his lips, rolls his eyes, and ignores me, I ain't mad at him. Because I totally get it. He don't realize that, but I do. And someday, he will too. Because when we get impatient with our children, we should try to remember ourselves. When we get frustrated with our children, we should try to remember ourselves. We should remember how much we wanted to make lots of money by doing the least amount of work. We should remember how many huge dreams we had about things that we never really had the strength to do. We should remember how often our mouths got us into trouble and our reasoning let us down. We should remember how many lazy, weak, unreasonable moments we had before we figured out who we were, what we wanted to do with ourselves, and how to do it. One day during my junior year, while I was clowning around in my 8th period typing class, a friend of mine who was a senior came up to me and said, "You're really funny, man. You want to be in Writer's Showcase?" And the rest is history. After that, you couldn't get me off the stage. Over the course of my senior year, I did Yamo, the fall play, the winter play. I even did the annual dance show A-Sound. At one point, I was running up and down the stairs from the auditorium to the upstairs theater, rehearsing the spring play and the spring musical at the same time. Until then, I'd always been a class clown and a social butterfly, but never realized that being goofy and talkative could actually be applied to something productive. Not only that, but this newfound productivity impacted all of my other work. I had never been more busy in my life, and I had never done so well in school. My grades improved, and my teachers were impressed. After high school, I stayed in Chicago to study theater at Columbia College. After that, I literally worked day and night, mornings at a coffee shop and nights at a comedy club so that I could spend my afternoons auditioning. Since then, I've tried out for countless commercials, television shows, and films. I've done a few things you've probably seen. And you can watch Chicago Fire this Wednesday night on NBC and see me play a TV bad guy, in fact. I've been a part of a gritty storefront theater company called Straw Dog, and I've worked in fancy places like Chicago Shakespeare. So instead of becoming a professional athlete turned actor, I just skipped the professional athletics and went straight into acting. But I still love sports, and in 2010, my theater company won the championship of the Chicago Theater Softball League. And in 2012, as a member of the ETHS staff, I watched a World Series game at a local pub, and my freshman year algebra teacher bought me a shot of Irish whiskey. We toasted, we drank, we both thought it was pretty cool. And he probably had no idea how much that meant to me. So life hasn't turned out exactly like my dreams.